friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to show you how to make a basic seafood dip. Now today I'm making it with clams, and that is because my son brought me some clams and some cream cheese with the request of making him some clam dip because it's one of his very favorite things. One of these days I would really like to try this with salmon or steelhead, because those are some other viable options for those who, like myself, are trying to get more into the clean eating. So let me get started and I'll show you what we'll do. What I have here are 2 packages. My bowl is very hot because I stuck it in my toaster oven to heat up. Of 2 8-ounce packages of cream cheese. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a store that carries organic cream cheese, I would go for that. Ours does not, but it's not like this is something that gets eaten all the time. So, sometimes you just roll with it. And then for each package of cream cheese, I usually put in a can of clams. I usually add the liquid from at least one of the cans. Now, if you're doing this with salmon, you just consider your ratios. This is 6.5 ounces. So you'd probably want for this much about 12 ounces of salmon, and you can make up in the liquid in some other way, like adding a little bit of goat milk or something like that. So again, I'm really looking forward to trying this with salmon because we have a whole bunch of salmon and steelhead in our freezer right now. I'm going to go ahead and use my hand can opener, but I wanted to show you something. This I do try to use frequently because I want to be practiced up and stay on top of how to use what most people are going to think this one's a P38. This one's actually a P51, which is slightly bigger than the P38, and thus making it a little easier to use, especially with bigger cans. So I'm going to post a link to these below. They're really cheap to buy, and you can get like a whole bunch of them for a few dollars. So, but to make it quicker, since I'm on camera, I'll use my hand can, my regular hand can opener, and if I can find, and I love this one too, if I can find a link to this one, I will go ahead and post that below. Now, if you're using canned clams, you may want to forego using the juice if you're concerned about getting a little bit of sand in there. I like to have at least some of the liquid in there because it just adds more flavor to the dip. So I'm going to just pour that whole thing in, and then for this next one, I really have issues with getting sand in there, but it's just one of those things that happens when you're working with anything like that, is you can end up with sand. So I'm going to drain the liquid off of this one, and then I'm going to put the clams in there. Okay, so there's that. Now, unfortunately, I don't even know how I did this, but the other day I somehow melted the holder for my beaters that goes to my OXO hand beater, which is my favorite one. I love it. Mr. Rain's going to see if he can possibly fix that for me. I'm so bummed. But thankfully I have another one. I don't like it as much, but I picked this one up at a garage sale a while back. And you can use an electric beater if you want. I just always try to use my hand ones because it saves on electricity and it gives me a little more exercise. This one just doesn't flow as nicely as my other one. The other one's easier to hold on to than those two. I'm just going to blend that up a little bit, and then I'm going to get to my spices. Next, you may want to add some kind of pepper. Black pepper is really good. Red pepper flakes are one of the things we really like. Sometimes I might use a little bit of both. And again, how much you put in there is up to you. I'm using probably a little better than a tablespoon in this. I'm going to go ahead and use this, because now that it's blended well enough, I can just use this to stir it in. All right, and then I like to use about a tablespoon of granulated garlic. And then I'm also going to add in my fermented garlic. So if you haven't seen my video on fermenting garlic, you can go ahead and find that right up here. I'll put this much garlic. And then I'm also going to put maybe about a 1/4 cup or so of chopped onion. So let me get to chopping. I'm going to go ahead and add in some homemade Worcestershire sauce. So if you haven't seen that video yet, you can find that one right up here. And I think I'm going to put in about a tablespoon to start with, and then we'll taste it and see how it tastes. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put in a little bit more of the Worcestershire sauce. Now, this sauce would be best if it was allowed to age longer, and I just made it today because I realized I needed it. But it's still really good. But letting it age gives a chance for all the spices in there to really infuse into the liquid of the Worcestershire sauce. Okay, now at this point you're going to want to taste test it again and see whether or not you want to add some more Worcestershire sauce. Once you get that to where you like it as far as flavor, then see if you want to even add any salt. So I'm going to do another taste test. Now that actually tastes really good just like that. However, I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit of salt. I would say about a teaspoon would be sufficient for this. Now I'm using Himalayan salt, the pink salt. And it is really good, and if I can find the link to this one, I don't know if Amazon's still carrying this one, I will post it below. However, my very favorite is the Redmond Real Salt, and I'll definitely put that link below. But when I was buying the Himalayan salt, I stocked up on a lot, so I have a lot to go through. And I still use the Redmond salt when I can. I still use the Redmond salt now and then, but I really got to use up the Himalayan pink salt. But they're both very good. They're high in minerals. So I'm thinking maybe not even a whole teaspoon, maybe a half teaspoon might be sufficient. So you might want to start with a half teaspoon and then see how that tastes, and then see if you need to add any more. Also, personally, I would find this to taste even better if it had more spice to it. So if it was for me, I would be adding a lot more like cayenne pepper, not just the red pepper flakes, but cayenne pepper, the powder actually is going to make it much more hot than the red pepper flakes, and black pepper. And I'm going to go ahead and add some black pepper to this as well. So let's say about a teaspoon of black pepper. I don't want to make it too hot because Justin doesn't mind a little bit of spicy, but he doesn't like the spicy quite as much as me and my oldest son do. Alright, so after tasting that, the half teaspoon of salt is sufficient. Again, start with that and taste it. If you want to add a little bit more, that's totally cool, especially if you're using a good healthy salt like the Himalayan salt or the Redmond Real Salt. You don't have to worry about your blood pressure with those because the minerals in those salts are what help keep your blood pressure down. That is why stripped out salts raise your blood pressure, because they're missing the important minerals that counteract that effect. So anyway, there we go, and he'll be happy when he gets home from work. He'll have his, one of his very favorite things, his clam dip. All right, so, and also, again, don't forget, you can do this with any other type of seafood. If you just don't like clams, or you're trying to be more into clean eating, a little more kosher, try using some salmon or other types of fish. Steelhead and salmon are somewhat similar, though steelhead is people were asking me about that in some other videos. Steelhead has a much more mild flavor and is lighter in color. I equate it a little bit more to trout, though it still has its own distinct flavor. All right, there you have it. Homemade seafood dip. Hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.